Hello and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are your hosts, Chris and Philly, co-founders of a multi-award-winning functional medicine practice, serving busy people with energy, mood, and gut issues.
While busyness, addictive doing, people-pleasing, and perfectionism might be the norm, it's not normal, and it's a major contributor to health issues.
Our goal with this show is to give you a holistic root cause approach to healing your body so that you don't have to continue doctor or diet hopping or popping a gazillion supplements hoping something might stick.
So get ready to heal your body, get your spark back, deeply connect with yourself, and step into the life of your dreams.
Let's dive in.
Hello, welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We have a really beautiful conversation for you today. Chris and I just interviewed Sara Raymond, who is a hypnotherapist and transformational coach in the USA. She's recently released a book called You're Not Broken, a compassionate guide to uncovering inner wisdom and transforming your life with hypnotherapy. It was a really great conversation. We share the same language with Sara all around deep unconscious core beliefs that are showing up as patterns and dysfunction in one's health and one's life. And we dive into inner child work and a big missing piece that Sara feels in the healing world is self-compassion. So we dive into what that looks like, how you can create more of that in yourself so that you can heal. Now, the official bio around Sara, she is a hypnotherapist, trauma-informed transformational coach, and the co-founder of The Mindful Movement, a platform dedicated to helping individuals tap into their inner peace, develop a positive mindset, and heal from stress. With over 20 years of experience, first teaching Pilates, then moving into yoga, meditation, and hypnosis, Sara has guided countless individuals toward personal growth and fulfillment. Her compassionate approach empowers clients to uncover limiting beliefs, adopt empowering mindsets, and confidently transform their lives. So let's dive into this really lovely conversation we had with Sara today. I know that there's going to be lots of little gems to help you in your healing journey.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Ending Body Burnout Show. We're excited to have our guest on the show today, Sara Raymond, all the way over from the United States of America, over in Maryland. Glad to have you on the show, Sara.
Thank you. It's amazing to be able to connect with people all around the world.
So cool, isn't it?
It is. The benefits of technology for sure. So Sara, you are a hypnotherapist, a trauma-informed transformational coach, and the co-founder of the Mindful Movement, which has just the most beautiful, like you guys have been very generous with free content and like all the meditations, hypnotherapy type processes on your YouTube channel. So I'm curious what got you into this work?
Well, I actually went down the road of hypnotherapy in my 30s when I was really just searching for a way to get to know myself and understand myself and help myself feel like I had some level of choice in the decisions that I was making and the life that I was building for myself and my family. So that's how I got into it, really.
Yeah. And what did that look like?
Spiritual journey.
Yeah. Like what problems were you experiencing or blocks or issues if we went deeper into that?
I would say it felt like I had all the boxes checked of what I should be doing, but I didn't feel like I was fulfilled or like there was always a need for more education and more everything. Like there just never was enough. And I just couldn't find satisfaction or fulfillment in what I was doing and how I was living. And it just, I don't know, it felt like I was a little lost, I guess, in a life that I, thought I wanted. And I actually did want it. It just was, the underlying uncertainty and the underlying belief that there just wasn't enough. I wasn't enough, really, I think was at the root of it all.
Yeah. And what did life look like then? Like, were you working or stay-at-home mom or business owner?
It was a little bit of all of that. I was a business owner, and also I did stay at home. I wouldn't say full time, but at the time, I think my kids were in elementary school, and so I was able to, get them on the bus in the morning and pick them up from the bus stop after school and help with homework and make dinners and so forth and take them to activities. But I was still working part-time as a business owner, co-business owner. But it was just like something was missing and I couldn't really figure out what it was. Yeah.
So on the outside, it was kind of like, this is what I want, but there's something missing. So what was at the root of that, and what did it look like in terms of finding it, discovering it, changing it?
Well, I think a lot of it was internal pressure that I was creating for myself with the sort of inner critic, or this need for achievement and success and perfection that just had me feeling like I could never reach that. There was no end outcome that would ever be enough. And so I just kept, driving and pushing and needing more, and, what do they say? Burning the candle at both ends. And it felt like I was never going to reach there. So it was just going to lead to burnout or to exhaustion or just constant dissatisfaction. And yeah.
It's such a common theme. Like, my gosh, it was you sharing your story. It's like, yep, perfectionism, overachieving, trying to hit the goals, which I did, but then I got there and I'm like, I'm still not happy. What's going on? And I'm still like, nothing's ever enough. And I mean, similar with clients and other guests we've had on the podcast, where you're running these patterns of behavior, and underneath that is like deep unconscious core beliefs that you're not enough or broken or undeserving or unlovable, or, it's going to be nuanced for the person and their lived experience. But yeah, it's so interesting how it then shows up in behavioral patterns and life, and you might have what you thought you want, but there's still not that groundedness and relaxation and surrendering into it, because there's a tiger chase. I always talk about these deeper unconscious core beliefs as like little internal tigers chasing you constantly, putting you into a state of fight, flight, or shut down, frozen, fawn. And no matter what you have or what you achieve, it's never enough until that's resolved. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Were you going to say something, Chris?
Oh, I was just briefly chatting before we press record to Sarah about where she's from in America, and football. I love football. And Super Bowl was just on. Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia Eagles, dropped this quote. He said, the joy of winning had no comparison to the pain of losing. Sometimes we'll see, just no matter what we get in life, like sometimes it's never enough. It's never enough. The Greatest Showman, that song, it's like never enough, never enough. Like we can achieve, we can have, we can get, we can do all the things.
Can I sing it now? I'm just like, I love that song. Never enough.
Yeah, it's better you sing it than me. But
And she was chasing the man that she couldn't have, and then she
Yeah.
got him, and then she's like, still not enough.
This is the thing. We chase, we do, or accumulate. And for practitioners, that might look like accumulate certificates. We did that. Accumulate books. We did that.
Yeah, like
knowledge.
I need to know more before I can provide real value
Before-
and transformation for others.
Before I can be enough, then I have to do enough, or I need to have enough. And we just keep chasing out of this fear of not enoughness, like Jalen Hurts said, and that the joy of winning doesn't compare to the fear or the pain of losing or being not enough. Oh, it's just it is an essential thing to examine and to work on. It's super preventable. It's super common, but it's it's an essential thing for us to work on, isn't it? This part.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of clients that it's the same story. It's never enough, and lots of high achieving clients that they come to me and they're happy about where they are in their career, but it feels exhausting. And the underlying drive is going to lead to burnout, or it's going to just cause so much stress and suffering that's unnecessary. Whereas if you can understand, there are positives, of course, with perfectionism, and there are positives with these high achieving tendencies, right? They get you to where you want to be. But if you can do it in a way that it's not driven by the not enoughness, then you can have the success and enjoy it, and you can have less suffering around the success and less striving and less burnout, really.
And it's when you're doing it resourcefully, when you're moving towards your goals resourcefully, like I find personally for me, I think a big thing that was just like, wow, when I'm unattached to the outcome, then it's like everything's okay. Wherever I land, it is enough. But then it's not just saying that logically, consciously, just be unattached to the outcome. You become unattached to the outcome when you can bring safety, trust, certainty back into yourself. That it's like, you know what? Whether I have lots of money or not a lot of money, I'm still enough. Whether I got that job or not that job, I'm still enough. Whether I'm like the perfect mom and my kids are happy and healthy and like well behaved or not, I'm still like an awesome person.
Right. And when your worth isn't attached to a specific outcome or a specific achievement or level of success, then the outcome doesn't really matter quite as much.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what has it looked like for you? And before we hit record to it, it's like we talked about it, it's this still ongoing evolution of being and becoming or grounding back to who you really are. But what has it looked like for you to start unraveling, reprogramming, rewiring, clearing this not enoughness?
Well, still, as I said before we hit record, it is a work in progress, and I think the big catalyst for me was being willing to look at when I was triggered, or when I was like activated and had a big reaction or big response to an event that sort of didn't match the actual situation. When I can use those situations, those instances as a doorway to exploration of, okay, well, what's really below the surface here? What's going on? Why am I reacting like this? Then I can understand myself a little more clearly, and I can have some compassion for that, old wound that's being reactivated. And then I can start to heal those bit by bit, and being willing to be patient with the process and take it step by step has really been important to me, to give myself the compassion and the grace that is needed to make the progress or make the transformation that I'm really seeking.
Do you have an example that you'd be happy to share, like a real life of like when I was triggered with this thing, this is where my
Yes.
mind went and this is how I showed compassion and
Sure. Well, so I have two different businesses. One is with my husband and one is with my mother. So both of those can be very, very activating for me. But today, for example, is just really very present. I was having a business meeting with my mom and telling her about something that I had done in this business. And I made a decision without running it by her. And she got really upset and she got really defensive and activated, which, occasionally this happens. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? Why are you yelling at me? Why? And I'm in my 40s. I'm not a teenager anymore, but I felt like I was a teenager. I'm like, what is going on? And it took me a minute to like back away from the situation and see it from a little bit broader perspective and say, okay, I'm reacting to her reacting and feeling like I'm, like a scolded teenager. And being able to see that would allow me to say, okay, Mom, what's really going on here? Like, why are you being so defensive? Why are you reacting to this like insignificant decision that I made in the business? And then we were able to have like an actual real conversation and it was productive. And we were both able to see that we were being triggered by something that was unrelated to the actual, aspect of the business that was in conversation.
yeah.
So that would be an example of a way that I could use a current interaction to see where maybe there's still some healing of like, I think I just needed her validation.
Yeah.
And, that's like an old pattern that I have run forever.
Yeah, which I think every
Yeah.
parent-child archetype runs that until they see it and they can break it and change it.
Right.
That's pretty intense. Yeah, business with your mum and husband. I mean, like we have our business together and that's often where there might be some activations. I like that word actually, activations. And then because we're both have done, continue to do the work, we can pretty quickly zoom out and see exactly what's happening. Hey. Yeah. Has your mum done has your mum done work around this as well? Because I'm just imagining having a conversation with my mum or parents and they're kind of still quite blind or they're surface level in terms of understanding the deeper inner healing work. It's hard to have a conversation with someone who doesn't quite get it.
Yeah. Well, she actually had been the person who introduced me to hypnosis in the first place.
Yeah, okay.
She used it to quit smoking many, many years ago, and she used it for weight loss over the years. And it's a little different application of the process than what I do, but she does some work on her own and she's a very like health minded and she's I would say like a growth mindset in a way that she's very willing to try things to help herself feel healthy and happy and yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Has an understanding of the subconscious patterns. Yeah.
Yes, I think she definitely does. I don't know that she is quite as willing to look very deep because of like, fear of what she's going to find. And I think that's very common for people who might have some curiosity around hypnotherapy or some like, deeper spiritual work. Like what am I going to find if I look a little deeper below the surface? So I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you've recently released a book called You Are Not Broken, a compassionate guide to uncovering inner wisdom and transforming your life with hypnotherapy. And I read this title out to Chris before you jumped on, and we're both like, yeah. So this is a presupposition that we use in our practice as well. You are not broken. Can you elaborate on what that means to you and how you're using that as the title, but also in the work that you do in the book?
Sure. I think it is essentially like the everything about who I am and what I do. And that's really where the name came from. It underlies everything. I think, I have people that come to me and they're like, oh, I have X, Y, and Z diagnosis, whether it's ADD or anxiety or, OCD, all kinds of different diagnoses. And I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose anything, of course. And sometimes it takes just putting down the labels during our conversation to really get below the surface of like, well, okay, what are these groups of behaviors and patterns and quote symptoms? What are they doing for you, and how are they helping you in some way? If we just take the label away and we just say, okay, this is a protective strategy, it's a safety strategy in some capacity, then what? Then, what do these behaviors mean to you? What do they look like? What are, those are the kind of questions that I will run through with clients. And it just opens up, and I'm not saying that there is no such thing as these diagnoses. That's not what I'm saying. But if we just put them away for the moment and we say, what's going on here? How are they helping you in some way? You might see the behaviors and the patterns and the symptoms in a slightly different way, from a slightly different perspective. Excuse me.
I love it. I love that so much. There's labels. There's so many labels that as I examine my own language, my own way of communicating and emoting and that sort of thing, and relating to my body, especially, I was contemplating bloating the other week, and some sensations I was experiencing in my body. So I came to the understand. For me, in that moment, bloating was my label.
Was this when you had gastro?
Yeah.
Okay.
So gastro is another one. That's
this
another
is
label.
Even interesting because this is an acute infection, but even that, it's like, well, what if we even put that acute infection to the side? And
the thing is, in that moment, I labeled it bloating. I labeled it pain. I labeled it, a few other things. My gut, my stomach, and I was really taking ownership of this. And then I just took a moment. I think this is what you're talking about. I just took a moment to reflect and just strip that label away and say, instead of calling it bloating, what can I call this, or what can I notice about my experience right now? And then I just labeled it, and instead of trying to run away or suppress or eradicate or get rid of the bloating, the label, I just breathed into it and noticed it. And even though the next day I had a gastro thing going on, I was able to separate the more mental, emotional stuff and the stress of the physical thing going on. Do you know what I mean? Like there was some clear metaphysical stuff that I was experiencing that went hand in hand with the physical inflammation and infection that was happening in my body. I think that that was a real rapport building moment for me. I was able to go to the edge of that discomfort, feel the sensations, strip away my label, notice what was actually really happening, breathe into it without trying to run away or eradicate it. And I was able to get a different experience. Yeah. Is that the sort of thing that you're talking about? And when you work with your clients, you take away that label, have a look underneath. It's like, oh, what's your belief about yourself? What meaning are you making? Like, you're feeling these sensations. What does that mean to you? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, definitely. I tend to work more with like chronic situations than acute, which I think it can work either way. But like I had a client today that I was working with she was dealing with anxiety and panic, and really the worst part about it was the fear of having the panic, not the panic itself.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and we looked at like, well, what is this panic? What is the anxiety doing for you? And it allowed her to make choices that she felt very safe in. And she had been experiencing it for so long that, in the process that we worked through, she said, well, who will I be without it? Right. She didn't even know herself enough to know, who she was without this panic. And really, it was mostly the fear of the panic.
Profound.
And that identity too is, protective. Like, it's like, well, this is who I've always been, and this is how I've always been, and these are the patterns I've run. So therefore it's familiar, it's safe. And then people can unconsciously hold on to these patterns because it's like, what if I didn't have this? That's scary. Like, I don't even know who I would be. My life and my relationships might be dramatically different, and like, let's not go there. Let's hold on to the patterns. If we think about burnout as well, exhaustion, brain fog, sleep issues, mood imbalances, stuck in fight flight, so it can show up as gut symptoms, autoimmunity. We see this a lot too, where it's like, you're not broken, which is actually a bit of a stab in the heart for some people. It's like, what? You're saying I created this? Or like, I'm holding on to this? I hate exhaustion. I hate feeling like this. I don't want it. But then again, when it's like, we'll strip away the label and how is it actually serving you or protecting you or meeting a need? It's like, okay, I've been saying yes way too much and people pleasing. And so my body has had to say no for me, essentially. It's like, what a loving and protective thing to do.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times the other aspect of the "you're not broken" statement or idea is compassion and acceptance, because when we find ourselves, and it's a little bit of a paradox, because you kind of have to be in this state to recognize that you want to make a change. But when you find yourself saying, oh, I hate this about me, or I really just want to change this. This pattern is the worst. I just wish I wasn't such a high achiever, or perfectionist, or whatever it is. You have to have a little bit of frustration or anger or upset about the thing that you want to change before you're able to change it. But then you can really only change it from a place of compassion and acceptance and non-judgment.
I love
like
that.
Double-edged sword.
It's so beautiful. There's so much intensity from fear, hatred, disgust, anger. That pain pulls your hand away from the fire, right? But you don't keep moving your hand away forever. You just move it away enough, and then you need to have a towards thing to move towards. Hey, like a fear and pain, it's intense and it's powerful and it's great and it's necessary, but then you need that love. You need that joy, something nice about yourself to move towards, hey.
Mm-hmm.
And in your work, so you believe compassion is a missing link in healing. How does that show up, like as the missing piece? How would that show up if someone is trying to heal, or maybe they're working with a practitioner that might have that as a missing link as well?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does that show up as a pattern?
Well, sometimes I think it needs to come from outside to really get the process started. Like if someone just doesn't have any self-compassion, or they don't, it's not a familiar experience. Like if someone didn't have a compassionate caregiver growing up, they wouldn't feel comfortable with it, maybe even. So sometimes it needs to come from outside of yourself, but a lot of times the conversations that I have to help someone uh, develop self-compassion would be, well, what if your best friend came to you with the same story that you're coming to me with? How would you receive that? Or what if your child came to you and said, I'm only good enough if I have success, if I have high achieving milestones in my career? What if your child came to you and said that? Well, what would you say to them? And most people will respond with, oh, well, I would say, well, that's not true. You are worthy no matter what. You don't have to have high achievements. So that would be a start of the conversation of self-compassion, right? Like if you're going to talk to your best friend like you talk to yourself, you probably wouldn't have that best friend anymore. you know so that's a lot of the way that I would approach it with a client, to start to build the self-compassion, so that they don't need me to be the voice of compassion for them.
Yeah, it is. I see it, like especially in functional medicine land, and naturopathy, nutrition, where it's like, do this protocol. Yes, I will. And it can either show up, so if someone doesn't have self-compassion, it can show up in two ways. So either one, they flog themselves doing it perfectly. It's like they force it. It's like, I hate it, but I'm going to do this restrictive diet. And I'm, because my practitioner told me that this is what I need to do. So it's very like should, need, have to, force it. I'll just grit my way through it, which is essentially traumatic to self. Like it's very harsh. Again, you wouldn't, like, imagine if, I'm just thinking now using your analogy, I'm like, oh, I've never thought about saying this, but imagine if you wanted your child to do something that you can see is going to be helpful for them, and you're like, you have to do it perfectly and you can't get it wrong, and like, you got to do it even if you're crying. That's essentially how people address their health, like trying to get healthy or to heal themselves. And then on the other side, it might be like, it's like even fear of failure. So it's like, well, I'm not even going to try because like, I know that I'm not good enough to do this anyway. I'm going to fail at some point. And so they get stuck in paralysis. So yeah, I love that. It's like, okay, yeah. So if someone's showing up on either of those camps, how can you actually, compassion is the missing link, because there's a lot of self-judgment happening in those two scenarios as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about for someone who is like, yeah, but like actually showing myself compassion and loving myself is so foreign, that I don't even know if I can. Like there are some people, I've had conversations with people that it's just like, I am my worst critic, and the thought of like showing myself compassion or love, it's like cringy.
Yeah, I mean, I work with a lot of clients that come in with some pretty fierce inner critics, and often we'll look at, well, whose voice does that remind you of? And often it's a parent or a caregiver that has been internalized. So we might work with that and see, well, is this criticism true?
Mm.
Or um, or it could be the voice of the inner critic is, again, a protective strategy to um, prevent someone outside of yourself being the critic. Like if I can be this critical to me, I'm going to prevent anyone else from being critical of me. I'm going to prevent being rejected or abandoned because, I'm going to be my own worst critic. Um, so that would be a place to start. And then finding a different way to meet that need.
Yeah, I love
Meaning, like, how can I prevent rejection in a different way? And is there even a threat of rejection at this stage in your life?
that.
Because
Yeah.
often, the fear of rejection started much, much younger, much
Usually
a
before the
long
age
time
of
ago.
7. Yeah. Yeah. And then
Right.
it's like, oh,
Right.
hang on. If I even just like logically, like obviously there's like logic and then somatic and conscious and unconscious mind, but it can help to go top to bottom where it's just like logically, rationally, actually, there's no one in my world right now that, they're like constantly rejecting me. And so therefore
Yeah.
it's like, okay.
Yeah, most of the bullying happens like high school and younger, right?
Yeah.
Teenage years and younger.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So part of the work that you do and that you talk about in the book is using hypnotherapy as a modality to help unravel all of this. Can you talk a bit more about this modality and also myths? Because there's a lot of people that we talk to that they're like, nah, not touching hypnotherapy. Nah.
Yeah.
No way, Jose.
Sure. Well, the way that I use the method is a form of meditation. And I think that meditation is much more mainstream. It's much more accepted at this point in our culture. And if I would have changed all of the words that are hypnosis or hypnotherapy to meditation, I think it would be received in a different way. But essentially, so one of the myths is that you'll lose control. You will be out of control. You will um, start to believe something that you don't really believe or is not true. And that is absolutely a myth. The all hypnosis really is self-hypnosis, and um, you're essentially just accessing a deeper level of yourself. You're not really bypassing the conscious logical mind, but you are able to let it rest, if you will, so that you can go below the surface of that uh, conscious logical mind and access your subconscious and your emotions. And that's really where the beliefs lie. And that's what, in the work that I do, I'm accessing or getting to know and understand the beliefs from a more emotional level.
Yeah.
Right. Because like logically I could say, well, of course I know that I'm good enough, but that's not the pattern that I tend to run because it's not a logical belief. It's an emotional belief from long, long ago.
Yeah. 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 So you're not bypassing the conscious mind. Like at any point in time, someone when they're like, whether they're like listening to something or they're with another practitioner can be like, okay, I need to have a little break right now, or I'm out. You can wake yourself up. Actually, you're not even asleep. So essentially, a lot of what people call meditation is hypnotic induction. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a similar state of mind. And like if you were listening to a guided meditation on a subway, for example, and you had earbuds in, and someone said your name, you would react. You would open your eyes, you would look around, and you would see who is calling your name, right? It's not like you're in a trance state where you're unconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the myths around that is, I don't even know where it's from, but I don't know if it's even on the movies, where it's like, oh, a hypnotherapist, oh, we'll bring you up to the stage and then we're going to put you into such a state that you're going to act like a chicken and do weird stuff that you don't even know that you're doing. Like, is that hypnotherapy, or is that just performance?
It's really a performance. I mean, it's stage hypnosis, and I mean, it is a form of hypnosis, and most hypnotists or practitioners would say that the people that go on stage in a situation like that are willing to be part of the entertainment.
Yeah, they
right?
want
So
to
they're
do
willing to accept the suggestions that are being given to them.
Yeah.
And anyone who wouldn't be willing wouldn't accept those suggestions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Just in the same way, if
It's
you're
just-
listening to a hypnotic meditation and it's like, yeah, this is what I want. This is what I want in my life. And I'm like aligning to it, as opposed to you might listen to something that's like, oh, actually, this doesn't quite feel quite right for me. All right, I'll just stop listening to it. You're still choosing, you're choosing what you're taking in and what you're using to transform and change the beliefs, patterns in the unconscious mind. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And if it were so far-fetched that was like, that's not right, or you would react. You would not accept what was being said.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just don't.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about beliefs. What about the inner child work? So, I mean, we also agree, believe, align that a lot of these deeper beliefs and patterns start before the age of 7. How have you seen that show up in the work that you do? And yeah, what sort of strategies, techniques, modalities do you do to help heal the inner child?
Sure. I think a lot of our experiences as adults stem from our experiences as children. Like the example that I gave you with the conversation with my mom, right? That wasn't me, adult me, reacting to her. It was my, past child wounding reacting to her. So a lot of what I do with clients in terms of inner child is looking at past events or stages in your life with the intent to you can't change the past, right? Obviously, we can't go back in time and make something happen differently, but we can reinterpret or change the meaning that we make about different times in our lives. So we would look at, okay, well, this is the time where I first believed that I wasn't good enough. I watched, this is not true for me, I'm just making it up, but I watched my dad leave when my parents were getting divorced, and I thought, he didn't want to stay because I wasn't good enough or I wasn't lovable. And that was the frame through which I experienced the rest of my life, right? Until I decided to do the work and say, okay, well, really what happened was that wasn't about me. That was about my parents and their relationship and their ability to communicate and have a healthy relationship. And, I was 4. I didn't understand that. I didn't know that. But at 4, you couldn't have recognized that. But I don't know, at 40, when you're doing the work, you're like, oh yeah, Obviously, that wasn't about me.
Mm.
Right. So a lot of it is just reinterpreting and changing the meaning that you've made out of past experiences.
Mm. And for some people, that can be quite like, okay, yep, easy in terms of like, oh, wow, yeah, things have really changed. So the proof is always in the pudding. It's like, have you changed now in your present? Has your life changed? Are you getting more of what you want? But I've also seen a lot of people really struggle with this. Like logically, they're like, oh, yeah, like, of course it wasn't true. And like, it was just dad being, I don't know, grumpy and, he had his own issues and, had nothing to do with me. But nothing changes for them. What's going on there?
Mm. Yeah. Well, let's say if I keep using this fake scenario, I'm 40 and I'm looking back at this event that happened when I was 4. That's 36 years of reinforcing this belief that I wasn't good enough for dad to stay around, or I wasn't lovable enough for dad to stay around. So sometimes it can be like that. You can just, have this experience in hypnosis and make the connection, make the realization, and poof, you're changed. But more often than not, it takes reinforcing of new beliefs. And this is part of the reason why I give clients personalized recordings, because we're going to start to reinforce the belief that you are lovable, that you are good enough, that your worth is inherent. It's not tied to, the love of a parent. It's not tied to the success in a career. So it does take some reinforcing of these new beliefs. And it also takes practice, right? It takes having certain scenarios where that old wound is reactivated, and you have to remind yourself, okay, I'm behaving like this because I feel like I'm not enough. And that recognition is the opportunity to choose a different direction. It's an opportunity to say, okay, normally I would react this way, but I'm seeing where that reaction is coming from, and now I'm going to choose this other option.
I use the framework as well. Well, I don't know, the framework story metaphor that your unconscious mind is like it's aware of everything. So if in the quiet space of your room or in the room with the practitioner, you're saying all these lovely things about yourself and like rewriting the story, but then you get out into the real world and you're still making the choices that are feeding the old beliefs and the old patterns, then it's like confusion and uncertainty. The unconscious mind is like, I'm confused now. I thought we were saying and doing this and being this, but now you're giving me evidence of that. So it's like this conscious choice of, okay, it's not just like listening to the lovely things. It's actually then stepping up, taking action, becoming the creator, the leader that aligns with who you want to be. And every time you do that messily in a yo-yo way, like you're going to stuff up sometimes, and that's okay. We're just like creating new neural pathways. But every time you're making that choice that reinforces the belief, then more evidence is being collected. And then the old evidence of the past is just like disintegrating at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I always use the metaphor of the garden, right? Like when you are trying to plant a vegetable garden in a patch of grass, you have to do the groundwork before you can even plant the seeds, right? You have to pull the grass out. You have to clear out the roots of the grass, and then you plant your seeds. But there's often going to be, grass that pops up, roots that you didn't get from the very base. And so you want to go in and keep pulling out the weeds and keep reinforcing the plants that you do want to grow. And it's the same, as what you're describing in terms of the sort of nonlinear path of evolution. Right.
And the other thing, which really feeds back to the title of your book, You're Not Broken, is that sometimes people are it's not holding on to you, you're holding on to it. So it's like the benefits, the needs that you've received, the protection. It's like, are you really ready to let that go? Like,
Yeah.
that's probably why it hasn't worked yet, because you're still holding on to it.
Right, right. Absolutely.
Awesome.
So cool. I found a link to your book for anybody in the States who wants to get your book. You can get it off your website. I think there's other ways you can get it if you're in Australia. We'll include some links in the show notes.
I'm guessing it's probably on Amazon.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
primary
Yep, cool.
seller.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it should be up on, it's still on Amazon, but it's the digital book that is available now as well. It took a little longer to get that up and running.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have an audio book yet? Have you done it?
I do not. I haven't. Which I have gotten so many comments about that because, most of the audience that I have, they listen to me in my audio with the guided meditations and so forth. But, running two businesses is,
Yeah, I get it.
it's hard to make time to record an audiobook. But
Yeah.
it's on my to-do list.
We published our book, probably been almost 2 years, 18 months, maybe 2 years, and still get messages. It's like, have you done the audiobook yet? Like, no, not yet. One day.
It's good,
It's
good
a
fun.
lot.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. It's been so lovely talking to you. I feel like we have so much in common in terms of the language that we're speaking. So it's really beautiful to share your expertise with the world, and we'll make sure that we pop the link to your book in the show notes. And I'm also going to pop your YouTube channel in the show notes as well, because you've got lots of like those free guided meditations that actually we've had a client been listening to for a very long time. They're like, we love Sarah's guided meditations. So that's cool. And she's all the way in Australia. So it's just like lovely that you can connect with the people that you feel pulled to, regardless of where you are in the world. Yeah.
Amazing what we can do with technology these days.
So good. All right, Sarah. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. It's been a fascinating conversation, and no doubt we've got a lot of people who are interested in doing a bit of a binge on YouTube of your stuff and getting your book. I love it.
Well,
thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank
My
you.
pleasure. All righty. Take good care, and hopefully we get to connect with you again sometime soon.
All right. Sounds good.
Stick around, Sarah, and we'll catch you guys all later.
Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you. If you'd like to give us extra smiles, drop us a review and spread the love by sharing this episode.
You can also rate your own state of burnout and the root cause contributors by taking our Ending Body Burnout Assessment on our website. And if you're interested in learning about our group or one-on-one Ending Body Burnout programs, shoot us a DM via Instagram or Facebook.
Have the best day ever.